Hey there, y'all. Clifford Campbell here, and today we are doing 2.2 factoring. Okay, this is definitely not my kid's favorite lesson. Okay, so let's get started. Okay, so the first thing that you need to learn here is I think the most important thing about this is that it is going to be multiple choice. Okay, and you know what? I was writing it above, so I'm just gonna skip up to it. Okay, so let's say you're going to get something like this. It's going to say something like, which is equivalent to 6x squared plus 18x? And then you're going to get some answers here that look like this, right? And you're going to have to figure out which one of these is the same as that, 6x squared plus 18x. Now first, to get you guys started, let's just show you how to factor it, okay? So the 6x squared plus 18x, what you would do is you would look at each term and you would say, okay, what does each term have in common with each other? Like, what are they both divisible by? And in this case, each one is divisible by 6, right? And each one is divisible by 3 and 2. We have lots of factors. We don't have just one factor that this thing can be factored into. We have multiple. And each one of them are divisible by only 1x, right? This one's divisible by 2x's, but this one's only divisible by 1. So let's just do some factors here. Okay, so let's say they're both divisible by 6 and x. Okay, now if I divide this by 6x, all I'm left with is an x. And then plus, and you'll see how we check it right now. Okay, the 18x, if I take out an x, well, I don't have any x's left. And if I do 18 divided by 6, I'm only left with a 3, right? Okay, let's check if I factored this right. The way you would check it is you would distribute it. 6x times x would be 6x squared. 6x times 3 would be 18x. And yeah, that's the same thing, right? It came out to the same thing, so we factored that correctly. Now let's see if there's any other factors we could have done. Let's say we divide out a 3 instead. And we don't take out any x's, we just take out the 3. So if we do that, that would leave me with a 2x squared left here, right? Plus, if I took out a 3 out of this, it would leave me with a 6x. Now let's double check this. 3 times 2x squared would make 6x squared. 3 times 6x would make 18x. Okay, and that is the same thing, right? So there are multiple factors. It's not like there's only one factor. So being able to factor all of them, I think people are not going to love to do that. I think what they're probably going to be more successful at is just looking at these that are here and actually just factoring them out. So watch, let's do that real quick. 3x squared times 2x. 3 times 2 is 6. X squared times x. Now this is next to 1. So what you do is when you have these, it's like you're adding up all your x's. So you have 2 here, 1 here. That leaves me with 3 of them. Okay. Now 3x squared times times 6 is going to leave me with 3 times 6 is 18. And there's no x's here, so it's just times x squared. And is that the same as what we wanted to get? It's not, right? So that would not be a good answer. Okay, let's check the next one. 6x times x would leave me with 6x squared. And 6x times 3 would leave me with plus 18x squared. And they're both x squared, so we could combine them. They're like terms, right? So 6 plus 18, that's going to be what? 24x squared. And that is not what we have. So no, that's a bad answer too. Okay, this one. 6x times x would leave me with 6x squared. 6x times 3 would leave me with 18x. And that is what we wanted, right? So that would be your answer. That's the one that's equivalent to that. Okay, that's how I suggest you probably do anything that looks similar to this. And I put some for your practicing, which is equivalent. Whoa. Okay, so like which is equivalent to that, and then you can practice it like that, factor that. Which cannot be a factor. That's the one where I thought would be a little tricky for you guys. Which cannot be a factor of 6x squared plus 9x? I just did one just similar to it, right? So you wouldn't want to see, well, I can definitely factor that by a 3 and an x. I can factor both of those by a 3 and an x. So 6. Yeah, I can factor both of those terms by a 6. Oh, no, I can't. I put 2 answers on here. That can't be, that cannot be, because this one can't be. Okay, so let's go through this. I'm going to switch this, though. I just want it to be like a 3. If it's a 3, both terms are factorable, right? Both terms are good answers. Okay, because both of them are divisible by 3. Okay, both of them are divisible by x, right? Yeah, so that one can be a factor. Now this one, both of them are not divisible by 6 or x squared. So this is going to be your answer. They cannot be divided by it, yeah? Okay, now it's time to show you how to factor these types of problems. Factoring. Okay, let me get a couple up here. Okay, here we go. Let's do this one. So we're going to factor x squared plus 9x plus 20. Okay, now what does factoring mean? Okay, so what does factoring mean? So factoring is the idea that we are going to do something similar to this. We are going to break up the equation, into something that can multiply, okay? So in this case, when you got this trinomial here, that means 3 terms. We're not going to do it like we did on these, where we just looked at each term and decided which one was divisible, what are they both divisible by. On this one, we're going to do these binomial factors, where each factor has 2 terms in there, okay? And what you're going to do is you're going to look at each one of these. So I'm sure you guys have kind of learned this in algebra, so let's just kind of just start from there. There should be an x in both of these because, you know what, let's start with this. How about we distribute this out? Now, if you guys learned it in Algebra 1, that means FOIL, right? That's what most people learn it as. We FOIL this out. And what FOIL stands for, it stands for firsts, outers, inners, lasts. So we're going to multiply the first thing in each one of them. X times x. Leaves me with x squared, right? Okay, then outers. Outers means we're going to multiply the 2 things that are on the outer edge of each one of them. So x times negative 4 makes negative 4x. Now we're going to multiply the inner stuff. 3 times x. Okay, and then we're going to multiply the thing that's last on each one of them. 3 times negative 4. So positive 3 times a negative 4, positive times a negative makes a negative, negative 12, right? Okay, now we combine like terms. So that leaves me with x squared. Negative 4 plus 3 is going to make a negative 1x minus 12. Or you can just rewrite this as x squared minus x minus 12. Okay, and that's our trinomial. That's it all distributed out. Okay, factoring is going backwards. Okay, we're going to start with this and end up with something like this. Okay, and you might be wondering, like, how are we going to do that? Well, one thing, okay, you can do, it's multiple choice, right? You can FOIL or distribute all of these, until you find the one that comes out to be the correct answer. That might be the easiest route on some of these, especially ones where the leading coefficient might be a 2 or a 3, any number that's not a 1. These ones with a 1 in front of them, like I'm about to show you, those are pretty easy. Most of my students always get those. But these with larger numbers in the front, my students start getting a little tripped out when we get to those. So on these, it might be easier just to FOIL them out and find which one's your answer, okay? That's perfectly fine to do that. And that might be what you want to do on a lot of these, is just FOIL out and find which one's correct instead of learning how to factor on all of them. Factoring is important for some of them, and you'll see why when we get to something like this, where it says like solve this equal to 0. It's going to be important that you know how to factor in order to solve for 0 on this, okay? So let's show you how to factor. Okay. I am going to get rid of this stuff that we did here. Okay. So my way of foiling, I call it the cross method, okay? And the reason why I call it the cross method is because a lot of these are guess and check. So you are going to be guessing, okay? So we're going to have an X here and an X here. Now what this represents is that is one of the factors, that is the other factor. So this is the first term in each one of them, yeah? And this thing will be the second term in each one of them. And the way we find the second term is you look at the factors of this number right here. So we got 20 times 1. We got 5 times 4. Let's see, 2 times 10. I think that's all of them. Okay, and then what you're going to do is you're going to look at these numbers and say, okay, well, which one of them can add or subtract to make this number right here a positive 9? And sometimes there might be more than one answer, okay? In this way, I hope that you see, okay, well, I can't add or subtract 20. Like, I can't do 20 minus 1. That's 19. I can't do 20 plus 1. That's 21. I can't make 9 in any way with a 20 and a 1. I can with a 5 and a 4. I can do 5 plus 4, right? That makes 9. And I can't do that with a 10 and a 2. I can't like subtract them to make 9 or anything. So it looks like it's going to have to be a 5 and a 4. Okay. Now, then we said that we were thinking it's got to be a plus, right? Now, here's how I do the cross method. So you set up your cross. You set up, how it's going to be a 5 and a 4. And you may or may not be right, okay? And then I call it cross method because we're praying that we're going to get it right on the first guess. Okay. So we're going to cross multiply. X times 4 makes 4x. 5 times x makes 5x. Okay, and then we have to add these to make 9. So that means that 4 will be positive, 5 will be positive, and this is what I think my answer is going to be. Now, you don't stop there and just say, oh, I got it. You always want to check it, okay, because it might have fooled you. So x times x is x squared. X times positive 4 is plus 4x. Then we got plus 5x. Then we got plus 20. Combine like terms. X squared plus 9x plus 20. Yeah, it worked out. So there is my factor. Okay, now you know how to factor ones with just a 1 in the front of them. Okay, how about I do one more real quick? I'll just walk through it. Maybe this one will throw some curveballs at me, and we'll have to deal with them, okay? So I'm going to go with x squared plus 2x minus 15. Okay, I'm going to walk through it a little faster than I did on the other one, okay? Because probably just trying to see if you follow the steps right. So I know it's going to be an x and an x. I'm going to set up my cross. An x and an x. Okay, so I'm going to write down my factors of this. I got 15 times 1. I got 3 times 5. That's it. Okay, well 15 and 1 cannot subtract or add to make positive 2. This can. I can do 5 minus 3, right? So that's going to be my guesses here. I'm going to do a 5 and a 3. Okay, let's cross multiply here. 3x, 5x. Okay, the only way to make a positive 2 would be a negative here and a positive here. So my 5 needs to be positive, my 3 needs to be negative. Okay, there's my two factors. And then I just need to check it. X times x. Oh, this is supposed to be a 3. X times x is x squared. X times negative 3 is negative 3x. Plus 5x. Minus 15. Okay, combine my like terms. So x squared plus 2x minus 15. Yeah, that's correct. Okay, now so you know how to factor, so you should be good on these. And on these up here, where it says like factor them, what I think you might also run into is them just telling you one of the factors. So like which is a factor of it. So you need to be able to factor. In that case, you can't distribute out, right? So you're gonna have to know how to factor so you can determine which one of these, so you can like factor it out, and like the answer is either gonna be x plus 5 or x minus 3, right? So you need to be able to factor out and stuff like that. Okay, I want to show you how to expand something like this so that if you end up with one of these, factoring like an x squared minus 9 or something, you know how to, expand or distribute out all of these here so you can figure out what the answer is, okay? So let's do something like that. So let's say expand x plus 4 squared. So what does squared mean? Like if I do 2 squared, that means 2 times 2, right? If I do 3 squared, that means 3 times 3. Okay, so what this means, it means x plus 4 times x plus 4. And then we can then expand it out, do the same thing in the FOIL. X times x is x squared. X times 4 makes plus 4x. And then plus 4x. And plus 16. 4 times 4 is 16. Combine like terms and we get x squared plus 8x plus 16. And that's what this is. Those two things are equivalent, okay? That's that one expanded out. So you know how to do a problem like that where you have to factor it, okay? And then you can always write all of these out, right? Okay, so this you would just write out as x plus y times x plus y, okay? I don't want to go through how to do those exactly. I think you're going to be able to probably distribute them out no matter what on those. Let's do one of these harder ones. I'm trying to make the video to where it's not, an hour long. I'm sorry, these factoring ones just take a while. Okay, so I'm going to have 2x squared plus 7x plus 3. Now, guys, if you don't understand how to do this one with the 2 in the front, I wouldn't put too much worry about it. I don't know if it's going to be, the hardest tested part. Okay, so let's do this. So in order to do this one, you have a 2x and an x, because if you multiply them, it makes 2x squared, right? So you're going to have a 2x and an x on your cross method. And we're going to do the exact same thing. Now, this was a 3. So I'm going to write all my factors of 3, which are 3 and 1. Okay? Now, that means I can either put a 1 here, and a 3 here, or I can flip that. I can put a 3 here and a 1 here. Now, I don't know. You have to be smart, but once you start doing it a lot, you'll figure out how to just kind of, see it. But as of right now, you guys can't just see it, so we're just going to have to guess. Let's see. I'm going to put a 3 here and a 1 here, okay? Let's just see what happens. 3 here and a 1 here. We're going to do that cross method. 2x times 1x is 2x. And that makes 3x. Can I add or subtract these to make this middle number? 7x. I can't. So that means I guessed wrong. Should not be a 3 on top and a 1 on bottom. It should be a 1 and a 3. Okay, and then let's see what this comes out if you cross multiply. That makes 6x. That makes 1x. Can I make 7x out of that? I sure can. I can put a plus and a plus. So this one is the one that made a 6. This one is the one that made a 1. So there is my factor. It is going to be 2x plus 1, x plus 3. And then you would distribute it out just to double check your answer. Okay, 2x squared plus 6x plus 1x plus 3. And combine like terms, and that makes 2x squared plus 7x plus 3. And that is the same thing as we had, right? So that's how you do those with a number in the front, okay? They're a little more difficult. Okay, now how to do these last ones. So if you ever have any one of these, let's do like this one right here. 9x squared minus 9x plus 10. Wait, what was it? X squared minus 9x plus 10 equals negative 10. Whoops. Plus 10 equals negative 10. And it says, solve for the solutions or the roots or the x-intercepts or just solve. Those are all the ways that they can ask you to solve for this, okay? Well, what you always want to do when you have one of these trinomials is you want to set it equal to 0. So we're going to move this 10 over, okay? That's going to leave me with x squared. Wait, I don't know why it always does that. Okay, x squared minus 9x, 10 plus 10 is 20. And then we added those to get rid of them, right? So now what we have is 0 on this side. That was the whole point. You got to set it equal to 0 from the start, okay? After you have it equal to 0, that's where you then have to know how to factor, okay? So let's factor this thing, and we're going to use our cross method, what I've been showing you. So we're going to have an x and an x, okay? And then we're going to look at our factors of 20. So we got 20 and 1, we got 5 and 4, and we got 10 and 2. Okay, remember, we're trying to pick out one of these that adds or subtracts to this number right here. So the 5 and the 4 are the only ones that can do that. So 5 and 4, let's cross multiply and see what it comes out to be. 4x and 5x. And if both of them are negative, we can make it negative 9x. So what we're going to have is, we're going to have x minus 5, x minus 4. Okay, and then it's equal to 0. Now guys, what you would want to do is check this, double check, make sure it's right. I know it's right because I've already done this one. And now, since it's equal to 0, we can set each one of these equal to 0. Okay, that's the whole point here. We can add 5, so now we just solve for x. So x equals 5 is one of my answers. And x equals 4 is another answer. These ones have 2 answers. So if you're wondering, how does it have 2 answers? How do you know how many answers it's supposed to have? If you look at the largest exponent, that pretty much tells you how many answers you're going to have. So this one had the largest exponent of 2, so I knew I was going to have 2 answers at the end. Okay, so that's how you're going to go about doing these. And so make sure that they're equal to 0, just like this one. So it's already equal to 0, right? So there you go. It should be nice and simple. Factor, set each factor equal to 0. On this one, it's not equal to 0, so you need to make it equal to 0 first. And then you can go about it. And notice, this one doesn't have 2 answers because it says x can only be greater than 0. So it's only going to be whatever the positive answer is that you get. Okay? And I hope that makes sense. And have a great day. Adios.